Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's a new week and a new day. So, happy new week, like we say in Nigeria, and then happy first start of the working week or working days. Today is Monday, and we're glad to be here again on the show. Yes, this is Shagalinku TV, and my name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. Youth development and youth participation in good governance has always been on the front burner, and a lot of times it could be confusing. People ask why the interest in youth development and all of that. But the truth is, young people form the bulk of major countries, virtually all across the globe. People realize, or countries and governments realize, that young people are the strength of the nation. And so they find ways to empower them both financially, educationally, and also when it comes to industrialization and ICT. So that's why we're looking at youth development and youth participation in good governance today. We're supposed to start 9 p.m. Apologies, I've been having issues connecting with our guests. We're actually supposed to have Comrade Anslem Sedi, the national president of Heart to Heart Foundation, join us to talk about this issue. But then the network has been terrible in connecting him. We'll just keep going, and if he joins us, fine, we'll talk. So please, for those of you watching right now, we'd like to know where you're watching us from. What can we do as a nation and as people to involve young people in issues? Drop a comment, and we will read them. Some are already dropping here. Please keep them coming. This one is from Olayinka Olarotimi. It says, good afternoon, did you say? Okay. So yes, please drop your comments. We're looking at what ways can we empower young people to participate in good governance. Now, I'm not looking at it from, because when you talk about political participation, people just look at it from the angle of political parties and all of that. But we're looking at how young people can participate in good governance, because good governance goes beyond just political parties, okay, or being in a political party. Good governance is also for young people to help out in their community and all of that. So if you're watching us right now, please tell us where you're watching us from, and give us your feedback. We'll be expecting Comrade Sedi to join us soon. But for now, let me bring in my other guest, and while we wait for Comrade Anslem Sedi. Olawi, how are you doing this evening? Thanks for
I'm
coming to
doing
the
good.
rescue.
How are you
How
doing
are you?
today?
Long
Good
time.
evening.
Good,
Yeah.
good evening. Yeah, I know you've been on this show a couple of times, but
Yeah.
there are so many people watching the show right now, and I'd like you to introduce yourself, and then we'll ask you your opinion about the topic of discussion.
Okay, great. So my name is Oyewusi Philemon Olawi. I am a development worker. I'm a media and communications expert. I'm also a voiceover artist, a content developer. I do a whole lot of stuff relating to development in that particular regard, and also humanitarian activities, basically. Well, I'd also be for tonight. I'd be the public person who sees things from a perspective that would actually tell on the community, especially of young people who we are talking about today, and how they can access power, or probably maybe influence the decisions of policymakers, and also to um, advocate for good governance by being participants themselves, and also taking the baton from those who are a bit elderly. So basically, this is me in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you so much. So for everyone watching, please share the video, share the link, so others can join us and drop your comments. If you're a young person, we also need you to tell us ways you think young people can be involved in good governance, as I and Ola, and also while we wait for Comrade Sedi to also join us, please drop your comments in the comment section, and we will be reading them. And please share the videos. Please share the link to this video right now so others can join us. Ola, we already have some messages here. Like I read this one before from Ola Rotimi. He says, good afternoon. He also came back to say, my name is Steven Ogunto Ibo. Well done, sir. Okay, Steven. Yeah, thank you so much. Um, Steven says he's watching from Atlanta in the United States of America. Thank you so much, Steven. I can also see Olubumi Jagade Adeniba. He says, hello, bro. Hello, sis, too. Good to, without being told, I know Mrs. Jagade is watching from Cameroon. Okay. Um, so many messages coming in. I'll read them shortly. But Ola, let me have your view on what you think about um, what you think about the situation, political participation, good governance, and all of that. I see Comrade Sedi is back. So let me quickly get your response to our topic, and then I'll bring Comrade to also join us. Ola, what do you think? First, let me ask this: why in Nigeria particularly do we see that we don't have many youths involved in good governance or in politics to say, I'm really trying to run away from saying politics, but then there are decision making leadership roles that you can't really run away from. So if we talk about young people, we should also find a place for them to sit in the decision making table. What's your view about that, Ola? You have to unmute.
Actually, so like I think we actually have a lot of people, a lot of young people across the country who are actually aspiring to be politicians and also to be public office holders. But the major challenge that you'd see them have is the issue of mentorship, right? A lot of them don't necessarily have the patience to go through the conduit of mentorship, or also to find a certain a particular kind of politician with charisma that would lead them along, and also they to be diligent enough to learn the rudiments of the game. But also, we have a whole lot of them also who are actually active in the political sphere, but also the major issue that they be having is that they are not necessarily towing the right direction or the right path, and this is because they are motivated by the wrong things. Now, you do know that we have the get rich quick syndrome affecting the youth today, and any opportunity they get to either serve or learn the ropes or try to apply themselves in that particular aspect, you find them going astray because they were not properly schooled, or they did not necessarily take their lessons properly to be able to stand in the gap between the community people which they tend to represent, or they are grooming themselves to represent at the long run, and also those who are already in power. So the major things you see happening is first of all psychophancy, and what you find a lot of young people called bemin. They have a name for it. They call it bemin, and that is to just do whatever you can do to get money off of the politicians or any public office holder by coming up with either programs that are not genuine or activities that will never hold, just to get money off of these politicians. And by so doing, they are easily used for a whole lot of shitty
Racketeering.
deals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Especially when it comes during the electioneering period, as we've seen it over the years. So I really think we have a lot of youths who are active in politics. But what is actually lacking is the right type of mentorship, and also the right kind of motivations to be able to function effectively in that particular sphere. So we can say that their political culture has been affected, because this is the set of attitudes, beliefs, and sentiments which gives order and meaning to a, a person's motivation to be able to participate in politics or politicking, as the case is.
Okay, thank you very much, Ola. Let me see if Comrade is still here, and I can bring in him to introduce himself, and then we take it up from there as well. Comrade, can you hear me now? It's good to have you. Yeah, you have to unmute. Comrade, you have to unmute. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, finally we
Yes.
can
Can you
have you
hear
now.
me?
We can hear
in,
you. Network has been
in,
dealing with you since.
indeed, the guest like a bride, taking too much protocols to come.
Well done. So,
Thank you.
Comrade, yeah, Comrade, I'd already introduced you when we started the show. I know network has been terrible, and finally we're able
Yeah.
to have you here. But I'd also like you to, for those who are joining us right now, since you're here, I'd like you to also introduce yourself, just as we asked them Ola to do. Then we'll take up the discussion as well from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ambassador Gabari. My name is Comrade Anslem Sedi, the President Heart to Heart Foundation. I'm a social innovator, resident in Taiwan, but currently in Abuja for the purpose of nation building and try to see how we can take the age of Nigeria at its maturity, to giving birth to a new Nigeria through the empowerment of the youth, engagement of the youth in political leadership, corporate governance, under a framework designed to be social, economic, and political structure. So that's what my foundation, Heart to Heart Foundation, is all about. Like I said, a social innovator, a social entrepreneur. What we do primarily is to harness social problems and seek to knowing the root causes of these social problems, and then designing a product, a service that can match the unmet needs that led to those social problems. And in this case, the youth are the target audience for our, foundation engagements. So hence, I am the youth personality of the year, which you are aware of.
Yeah, and, and congrats for the award. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you heard Ola backstage when Ola was also talking, and he made mention of something very important, that young people hardly find mentors, one, and that young people, because of the economic situation, would like, let's take this from the politicians, what they can give us at the moment, and then we'll just go on. They don't realize that they need to have a place at the discussion table, maybe many young people don't also realize the power they have, whether in strength, whether in energy, physically and intellectually, and all of that. What would you like to say before we even delve deeply into it all? What's really the problem with young people participating in good governance and all of that?
Okay. Before going straight to that question, I want to highlight a few things as, what the role of young people are in nation building before we start talking about leadership, political, and then corporate governance. Firstly, the role of the youth, towards nation building. We want to identify who the youth are under this, definition. We have that the youth are the period between, childhood and adulthood. Okay. And then secondly, the youth is a country, you know, um, and, and then secondly, the nation is a country, whereby considered as a group of people, living in a certain territory under one government. Okay. Then thirdly, we also have to know that nation building have means, not masonry, constructed, or a mansion. It's not, it has to do with mentorship and engagement. So instead of development of the nation, the future of the youth should be considered into factor in terms of human capital development. So that is the base of having a country, before having a nation, and before talking of having youth participation in leadership, whether political or economic, as in corporate governance.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I would like to read a few messages here, and then we will take it up from there. This one is from Daniel, and it says, "Good evening. Um, I am Emmanuel Daniel, watching from in in Abuja, and some text messages are here. I'll quickly also read them, and then you and Ola can give your response. This one says,
Okay.
"Hi, I'm watching you live from South Africa, and my name is Tony. I'd like to ask if young people are willing to make sacrifices for their country, because all over Africa, all they do is to get rich quick and also follow politicians, just like your first guest said, when it comes to election racketeering." What do you have to say to this? Thank you so much, Tony Wright from South Africa. It's good to know that you're watching. So, what do you have to say about this, sir?
Okay. Like, I do respond to a couple of questions from the youth as regarding their participation. Yes, our last question is very correct about the situation as regard the way the youth participate in the society. Yes, they want to get quick reach, but that is the orientation we are trying to do. We identify the radicalism of these youth and then de-radicalize them and give them a new orientation as to how they should participate in government. Like I was saying during the last event I attended, that the foundation for the youth to participate is eroded. So they create a foundation for themselves. They create a subculture for themselves. And this subculture drives them into what you see as racketeering, because they have to survive at all means. Institutions are broken. They graduate from colleges. There are no, sustainable jobs for them. They are in college. There are no grants. There are no scholarship. There are no any form of award, no bursary to sustain their schooling. So they resort to all means regarding survival. And what we see today as racketeering is a result of this decay within the institutions, in which education is primary to youth, development. So where the education is not there, and you have the education and it's half-baked education, so how can you be gainfully employed? We must address these areas. The primary role of young people is to get a good education in order to become better citizens of tomorrow. They need to learn skills to do the job that their country's economy needs. They also need to know how to read, write, think, understand, analyze, and then discuss the issues their country faces. So this is why we're trying to create all forms of social, economic, and political platforms for engaging the youth. Personally, I'm a youth development mentor. I engage the youth every Fridays between 9 to 11 from different parts of the world and in the country within my foundation. And this has helped the youth across board from various institutions across Nigeria. And this had led to so many awards given to me, even by the University of Jos, as a distinguished social entrepreneur of the year, a manifestation of the impact of mentorship that the youth has received. So these are areas keen. I'm not party to quickly condemning what the youth does and how they do it, the criminalization, the incrimination, the stereotyping, but I'm better at looking at the root cause the role the government plays, the absence of the strong institutions that would have produced this youth that we are talking about.
Okay, thank you so much. So, in case you just joined us, the program is Shagalinku TV, and we're looking at youth development and youth participation. And I have two guests here, Olawi and also Comrade Anslem Sedi. And apologies once again for starting late. We're supposed to have started this program by 9, but as you know, network is always not our friend. Keep your messages coming. We'll be reading them as we move on. I'll ask Ola now. Ola, from what you see, you are also very interactive when it comes to having communications with young people, especially being a social media analyst and a practitioner. From what you see, are young people prepared for 2023? Because I am also worried. I keep saying that NSAS just goes beyond protesting at Lekki Gate and each state, young people coming out to protest. It will be very important that they also take this protest and this unity to the polling unit come the next election. So, in your view, and someone who's always been on social media and really analyzing things, do you think young people are prepared for 2023?
Okay, so just a while ago, and this is like 3 weeks ago now, we took upon ourselves an initiative to go around communities in just South and just North to carry out the sensitization awareness of the continuous voter registration that the INEC is doing. Before we did that, we actually went to INEC and informed them of our intention to ease the pain or to ease the struggle that they would have to go through to have themselves registered, especially for those who don't have the cards or those who theirs must have been missing in some type of way, and they agreed. So going into these communities now, we spared no particular place. We went to local beer parlors, we went to the market, we went to motor parks, and we spoke to, especially we targeted the youth because we know that a whole lot of them have smartphones that they can use to start the registration processes before they go to the INEC office and complete the registration. But it will shock you that there is a whole lot of voter apathy. A lot of them said that they will not be voting. That it's a waste of time, it has never worked, and it will not work. And coupled with the situation at hand in the country right now, the insecurity challenges, the corruption that they see, a whole lot of issues that are out there. A lot of them told us that they will not be voting no matter what we tell them. And some others told us that they even have the cards, but they will not go out. Others are saying that they would even break theirs. And that was their intention. They just forgot somehow. But we tried our best to try to convince them and even have to register a few of them to give them hope that this time around, the youth are woke now more than ever to try to see that their votes count, and would ensure that at every polling unit and also every state or local government would ensure that everybody's vote matters, and it starts with everybody. It starts with even them, because they would have to monitor, they would have to insist on seeing their results after voting before they leave the unit, and that way would be able to work hand in hand with the INEC by supporting the architecture that they created to ensure that these people are not disenfranchised when the time comes. So about being ready, if the youths are ready or not, I think the youths are pained, and it's a major reason why it talks about voter apathy. They really want to participate. They want to make a change. They want to voice out. All the protests that have been organized in the past, the prayer walks across the country, uh, just prayer walk, Benue prayer walk, all over the country like that, and also the NSAS movement and the likes. All these are movements to try to sensitize or awaken the consciousness of the youth to the fact that you can still make the change that you want to see, right? I also watched a talk by the DJ that filmed the entire NSA stuff that we watched virtually, and that was chased by the authorities for exacerbating the conflict in that particular regard, who is now no longer in the country but is giving talks across the world. This is also engendering the youth to have to emphasize on their voice. Now, we're not encouraging violence, we're not encouraging them to be unruly, but we're trying to make them see the power that they have and how they can channel that into saying that they make the change that they want to see. So I really think that the youth are ready, but the thing is, we need a louder voice. We need these movements to continue. We need it to be more inclusive. We need to work more cohesively together to see that we project our cause at the long run. Because I think how the best way to achieve this is if you do not detach yourself from the process. When you make them feel like you're part of the process, they would be confident in the fact that they are not alone. It's not like you're pushing them to the forefront and you're pulling off, right? So that way, I really think the youths are ready. They just need a more convincing mantra, a firm voice telling them that we are urging you on, we are together with you, and this can be done if you believe.
Yeah. Before I go to Comrade Sedi to also ask him the role of political parties also encouraging young people, maybe having a waiver, just as they do for females, where they say forms could be free and all of that, and intentionally bringing out candidates. Because no matter how young persons want to be in politics, at the end of the day, the bottom line is within the party primaries. Parties are the ones who field candidates for primaries. No matter how passionate the person is, if he doesn't scale through the primaries, I mean, there's no way he will come out as any of that. So I'll be asking Comrade Sedi to also respond to that shortly. But I still want to take you on this last one before I also bring in Comrade. Don't you think that because of we're not using the electronic means of voting, maybe that's what is discouraging a lot of young people? I mean, we've seen a lot of competitions. People have reality shows, rather. People have always had cynical comments and remarks about the likes of Big Brother, Niger, The Voice, and all of that, where it's online voting, and you find a lot of young people participating in that. And people are saying, if you know young people like XYZ ways of voting or making their voice known, especially with Big Brother Niger and other reality shows, why don't you incorporate this and see how that can work? Don't you think also that INEC not doing all of this in making sure people from the comfort, and not just for young people, but generally people from the comfort of their homes can do all this? We saw what happened in the recently held elections in Anambra, that even like 2 days to the day of the election, people even felt, other states even felt elections won't hold because of also the stay at home order and the insecurity and all of that. So what do you think about ways INEC and generally they can fashion out in really opening doors and spaces for young people to participate?
Okay, so I really think that the INEC is doing our best to ensure that that actually happens. And a while back, a lot of our I think Ndume was one of the persons who actually even spoke against it because he was worried about that system and how it will affect persons in especially his local government who are not tech savvy. Would that mean that they'd be disenfranchised when the time comes? But the question is, or the point is that for areas where we know that these persons are not necessarily tech savvy, we could actually adopt the old ways to do it. So that way, we'll be voting virtually, or transmission of voting basically, and also transmission of the results virtually. Because his concern is that he didn't really grasp the idea completely. But I'm sure now that it's more of a thing, right, in the country, I think that at the long run, this would be adopted, it would be executed, and we would have some form of gains at the long run. But my concern also is that it's a new system, right? It's not that it will not happen. We've seen it happen with Big Brother Niger. And I also think it will afford the diaspora community to be able to vote too as well, if that architecture accommodates that idea. But the major problem is the issue of corruption. That is the major problem that a lot of these youths have. is the process going to be credible enough that they would trust the result when it is released eventually? Who are the persons that are going to be in charge of this particular transmission of results? Can we really say that when these results are collated across the country and are submitted into the pool, that this would definitely be what it is at the long run? Because if you check the last election, this was the same issue that Atiku and Co were dragging in the courts, that they were supposed to be captured. The capture cards were supposed to reflect the number of persons who actually registered to vote and also voted on that day. But we do know that a lot of the card readers had issues on that day, and a lot of people were not captured. A lot of the electioneering process started very late because of network issues, and some of the smart cards were inoperative. They had to change them and all of that. So all of these issues are these issues that we can knock off before the time comes, right? So I really think it's something that can be done, and INEC is actually working on that. If all hands are put on deck and the right stakeholders are brought on board, because as it is said, Nigeria is one of the forerunners on the continent as relates tech. And that is a big thing. And like, Nigerians, whatever you come with, we find a way to develop it or bypass it. So if you're able to bring stakeholders in the tech sector from either Lagos, since Lagos is referred to as the Silicon Valley of Nigeria or Africa, and also other tech hubs around the country, like we have in Jos, Benue, Abuja, and the likes, and you call up a conference, and these people speak about a firewall and an architecture that would stand, then I'm sure that we could have a solid process at the long run.
Okay, thank you so much, Ola, for that. Let me bring in Comrade here. Okay, Comrade's gone off. Comrade, if you can join us, that will be fine. I'd wanted to bring you in to talk about how political parties can actually also reserve spaces. Not really reserve spaces, but motivate young people in fielding them for particular positions. Just like I was discussing with Ola, there's still little or nothing that young persons can do, especially when they know that, especially when it comes to Nigerian politics, where money is heavily involved. Where are young people going to get that? How about also giving out forms free? And even when they do, how transparent are the primaries? Because no matter how your intents are as an aspirant, once your party doesn't give you the primary ticket, or if you don't win the primary, it's like the end of your ambition or your political aspiration for that moment. So you need to wait for another 4 years before you can try again. So, and a lot of rancors happen within that space, between the time aspirants are asked to buy their forms, come for campaigns, and then go for primaries and all of that. It's a very Herculean one. So, how can young people be mainstreamed into all of these? Ola, you might have to answer this again because Comrade Sedi is not, network has yanked him off again. So, how do we even begin to ask political parties to bring in young people? Because it's really a long walk for young people. I mean, a lot of them were barely able to go to school, and then coming out, the first thing they want to do is just get a job and just move on with life, support momsy and popsy, and then the African setting tells you that once you finish school, you should get a job, and the next thing is to get married, and have children. They don't want you to do all of that. Okay, I think Comrade is here, so let me see if you can answer this question about political parties having slots or pushing out young people. Comrade, I was saying this before you went off. I don't know if you heard me, but I was saying, can there be a conscious effort by political parties to field young people in their primaries and all of that? You have to unmute. You have to unmute, comrade. Comrade, you need to unmute. We can't hear you. Hello? You need to unmute your mic. We can't hear you. Okay. So I'll just bring Ola in, and let's see if Comrade will unmute his mic and have him. Okay, Ola, let me even ask you another question from another angle while we expect Comrade to come back and unmute himself. I'm still going to ask you something around technology, internet, online, and all of that. Um, is there no way? Is there no way we could just have young people, flood up some of the spaces for they could come. I don't know how they could come in, but maybe like consultants, maybe like a coalition that could be there to give advice to INEC about some of these things. Because I mean, you can't INEC can afford to disenfranchise a huge chunk of young people like that, knowing the kind of energy, talent, and intellectual that they have. I mean, there's nothing wrong if INEC go around the six geopolitical zone and say, okay, you know what? We want to do something on tech. Young people all over the six geopolitical zone, can we have a conference where we all sit down and you give us your opinion on how you think we can move this thing forward? I mean, aside just the security and other things, the physical election is money sapping. Every time they need to do elections, you need to see the huge budget. And sometimes when I look at such budget and I'm like, XYZ would have been done in terms of development and all of that and what's happening. And okay, let's bring Comrade back. Comrade, you need to unmute. Um, Comrade, you need to unmute. Okay, we still can't hear you. Okay, so Ola, please go on and let's have you.
Okay, so basically, these engagements are capital intensive. And the first thing that the INEC could definitely tell you is that they don't have any budgetary allocation for that particular initiative. But I think it is something that the INEC can still do if they really deliberate about that particular fact. Because we do know that we have a whole lot of people now that are active online, especially with the advent of things as crypto and a whole lot of other um, ideas along that value chains online. So I really think that it is something that can be done, funding notwithstanding. It could be just like a think process. You don't have to do all of the razzmatazz to get these people together. All you need to do is to get a central venue. And if you really want to just kind of streamline, you could just probably scout from the state level and get probably maybe two representatives from each state, and you have about say 72 persons to be in attendance on that particular engagement, right? And you'd have solid conversations in that regard, because we have a lot of Nigerians doing amazingly well out there and within the country or on the continent as well, that would give very, very valid inputs as to how we can do this better and get it well. But also my concern is that we are not making good use of our diaspora intellectual capacities or resources out there. We can have them involved in all of these processes and give them a sense of belonging, such that they would pour out whatever it is that they've learned over time. Would have technology transfer. We'd have breakthroughs in a lot of these aspects that we're worried about, and the INEC would be better positioned to actually conduct elections as it is done in the 21st century in other climes like the United States and other advanced countries. Yes, we may not necessarily, like I did mention, have all the setup or the architecture that would ensure that for now, as relates to the INEC. But in the country, we have a lot of expertise that would ensure that to happen. So we could actually do, even though I know it's going to raise eyebrows, some form of collaborative work between the INEC and some tech giants, either within the country. Thank God we have the likes of Google in Nigeria and a lot of others that are being wooed to come through. This set of people can work together through a clean and credible process to ensure that we create an architecture that we can actually be proud of and carry out our elections effectively well.
Beautiful one there. Thank you so much, Ola. Let me see if Comrade Sedi can still join us now. So, Comrade, have you been able to unmute yourself? Comrade, can you unmute and then let's have your contribution? Hello, Comrade. Okay, so we're wrapping up now, and I'll be asking a few more, just one or two more questions to our guests, and then we'll wrap up and see how it goes. So I'll bring back, I'm trying to see if Comrade can hear. Hello, Comrade. You will need to unmute yourself, Comrade. You need to click on, oh, it's gone off again. Okay, so Ola, we're wrapping up now. Finally, I'd like to, how can we address the NSAS issue, and how can young people utilize the momentum they've gathered and the awareness creation that they've gathered and garnered over this period of the NSAS issue? I mean, that brought the whole world to notice. That brought the whole world to say, yeah, it's time. I think this is long overdue. That brought the whole world to say, Nigerians, for once, young people are united and all of that. So how can young people keep this momentum and run with it?
I really think young people can actually be more cohesive by engaging in collaborative engagements that would ensure that they stay politically active and also hold the mantra that motivated them to carry out the NSAS protest. Now, we do know that the NSAS issue was a springboard for the protest, but when it started, we have a 5-point demand of the government of what we want to see happen, and that sort of like gave the Nigerian youth a perspective or a frontier before the world to show that they really are woke right now. All they lacked is that political will or the wherewithal to influence the decisions of policymakers effectively enough, such that their agitations or their demands are met. So as it is right now, I really think the momentum is still there. But what would break it is the issue of ideologies, right? Because so long this does not align, would continually have problems. When one party is saying, yes, this is what we want, this is what we demand, but another party is saying no. And like we did mention, like though the comrade said he is not quick to condemn or brand the youth or give them any type coloration, but we see that this is something that has been playing out, and it's an issue basically when you have a pro challenge and a counter challenge of an initiative that is supposed to benefit everybody, right? We've seen it in Abuja, we've seen it in places like Lagos and other places across the country. So I really think if we have unity of purpose amongst the youths in the country, all of our initiatives would be sustained and it will be modified to fit the context of the time that we're in right now, such that we achieve the results that we want to see at the long run.
Well said, well said. I'd like to bring in Chief Comrade if it's still available. If not, I'll just Comrade's network is just terrible today. I hope that we could find another time to have him on the show. So, I'd like to give you a few seconds to wrap up now. Your final words as we wrap up, knowing hopefully that any other time Comrade is able to connect with us, I'd like both of you to come back again and still weave the remaining parts that I really like both of you's opinion about. But finally, as we wrap up, what's your last word of advice to young people?
Okay, so basically, I think we like I've been emphasizing. I would rather want to see a youth or the youth of this country work more cohesively together to ensuring that we achieve our goal at the long run, because we want to see a more vibrant representation or representatives in the corridors of power, standing in for the people to drive home their demands and their aspirations as a people, as opposed to what we're seeing right now. Even though we can actually point out two, three, or four persons that are actually in the upper chambers and are actually in the Senate House and also that of Reps, doing quite well, even though there's a whole lot to be learned and also to be done. But then I would want to see more youth to be active in that regard. Yes, we know that funding is an issue, but like I did mention, we were talking with a friend and we talked about crowdfunding for a particular candidate that we know that is credible enough. The youths of the country can actually crowdfund for that particular person, and we could like fly or float his candidacy under any party that we choose to, so long that is an option that can be adopted in the country. And also we also have an initiative, in I think it was in March, when the Africa Free Continental Trade Area initiative was signed, and that is an initiative to have African youths both on the continent and in diaspora to engage each other in productive ventures, such that there will be poverty alleviation, there will be cross-pollination of ideas and also expertise, and by extension, and at the long run, we get to have a continent that is woke and is also very active as relates to the developmental strides that we want to see. So I'd want to see, like I did mention, a youth population across the continent that would interwove, that would work together with themselves, regardless of the differences that may be, such that we see an Africa that we really want to see at the long run. Because as it is right now, I am a Pan-Africanist, and I see Africa as a country and Nigeria as a state like it is, and every other country as a state on the continent. So if we sort of like bury our differences and see that which unites us, then we can forge ahead with great strength and also achieve great results at the long run.
Thank you very much, Ola. So who would you like to send your felicitations to? Final words of greetings to maybe friends, organizations, partners, and all of that have been supportive of your work and all you do.
Yeah, so I would like to thank SOS Children Villages. I would like to thank the Amana Radio. I would like to thank a lot of other stakeholders that their names are too numerous to mention, who have supported us during the course of our community initiatives and activities across the communities that we're able to cover while we're doing our CVR, the Continuing Voter Registration Awareness, and also those who are also pledging support for our Africa Free Continental Trade Area webinar, and also the physical activity. All of these people are really, really amazing people for coming through for us and standing with us to see that this is actualized. Because, like I did mention, we want to see a united Africa where the youths, regardless of the country that they're coming from or which continent that they're on at this particular point in time, are working together for the development of the continent. I also want to thank Bidemi Alade. She is our support system, and she has been cheering me on ever since the engagement started. So these are the people that are going to send my shout out to.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. And we really want to thank everyone who joined us, both those who watched from the United States of America, Stephen and Co. that sent in messages. Thank you all for that. People, thank you also for joining us. The videos will be here. both on YouTube, on Facebook, and all the social media. So you could watch even after the show, the full edition, and all of that. Apologies once again. Our other guest, Comrade Sedi, couldn't join. The network kicked him off again, but we hope to find another time where we'll bring him and Olawi to also talk about another angle of youth participation and good governance. Thank you all for joining us. We hopefully will be doing a few more daily presentations here, and let's see how it goes from there. So thank you all. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and enjoy the rest of your Monday and stay safe, and God bless you all. Bye bye.